Okay, good evening. My name is Bob Connors. It is now 6:01 p.m. I'd like to call the April 1st meeting, of the Newbury Conservation to order. Mason, can you please read the remote open meeting law preamble and take a roll call of the members present?
As a preliminary matter, this is Mason Ferret, Conservation Agent of the Newbury Conservation Commission, and I call the April 1st meeting to order and permit me to confirm that all members are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Mary Rimmer, TJ Conti,
Aye.
Mick Brown,
Aye.
Diane O'Brien,
Yeah.
Woody Knight, Frank Wettenkamp, and Bob Connors.
Yes.
Good evening, everyone. This open meeting of the Newbury Conservation Commission is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we've been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. For this meeting, the Newbury Conservation Commission is convening by Zoom, as posted on the agenda of the Conservation Commission section of the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you, and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you may broadcast may be captured by the recording. Applicants or their representatives may be called upon to speak and or share information to the screen if able on the fly. We're now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct. The chair will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your microphone or computer when you're not speaking. Please use earbuds, and please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. After the board and committee members have spoken, the chair will afford public comment as follows. The chair will first seek questions, the chat function. When participants are using this function, please list your name, address, and then your question. Then the chair will seek questions from the public who wish to speak. They'll be asked to identify their names, address, question, and once the chair has a list of all public commentators, they'll call on each by name and afford 3 minutes for any comments. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote.
Okay, thank you, Mason. Upcoming meeting dates, April 15th and May 6th. Meeting minutes review. We have the March 18th meeting minutes. Why don't we take a moment, review those, see if there's any comments, corrections, or concerns. Okay, hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes for the for the March 18th meeting.
So
Can I get a
moved.
So TJ,
Second.
okay, TJ, Diane. Okay, roll call, all in favor. TJ,
Aye.
Mick,
Aye.
Diane,
Yeah.
and Bob Connors votes yes. All right. Next order of business is a request for determination of applicability. 105 Northern Boulevard. The applicant has submitted an RDA to replace the previous existing deck in the backyard area.
So,
Good.
yeah, you like
Please, please mute your phone. Please
Why
mute
is
your
this-
computer until you're called upon, please. All right, historic aerials have been provided to show the previously deconstructed deck. And there's been additional submittals of the proposed deck with an elevation and the diamond pair locations. Mason, why don't you give us an overview on this? And if you could pull up the most recent plans submitted by the applicant.
Yep. So like you said, the applicant has submitted updated plans for the proposed deck, the extension of the pre-existing deck, and also has submitted plans to show the elevation of the new proposed deck. I will pull that up. And Jim, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, Jim, you're on. mute.
Okay, what do you need to know, Mason?
Well, we're gonna pull the plans up, Jim,
Yep,
and then
basically,
we'll ask questions. Just answer questions as they're asked.
okay,
Okay,
Thank you. What are we doing, the same on the drive? What color? Yeah.
okay, if everyone could just check their
No, yeah,
room.
you.
We're getting background interference. If you're,
Yeah, the back notes, and you're.
okay, thank you. Is that you guys? That's that noise in the background? Okay. Turn the TV off then and come back to the meeting. Okay, can you rotate that plan? You should be able to.
1 second.
Welcome, Woody.
Yes, sorry for the tardiness.
No, it's, so Woody, all we've done is, we've approved the meeting minutes for the, March 18th meeting. And we're on
Okay.
the first order of business is the RDA for 105 Northern Boulevard. And we're just looking at the plans that, the applicant has submitted showing the diamond piers and the elevations. And as I recall, that's what the additional information the commission was looking for, Mason?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay. Mason, do you have any questions on this? Or are you all set?
I don't have any questions at this time.
Okay, why don't I open this up to the members for questions? TJ, do you have any questions on this one?
Um, why did you skip me for now? This is the first time I'm looking at this, Bob.
Okay,
I must have missed this one, but I'm just taking a quick peek.
yeah, I wasn't at the original meeting on this, but Mick, any questions on this one?
No, I think we were asking for details on the peer supports, and this seems to meet that request.
Okay.
So I think we're good.
Anything else, Mick?
Not at this time, no.
Okay, Diane, any questions or comments on this one?
I recall on this one, this was you guys are replacing a deck that is already there, and then you had another area that's sort of like a patio that you were making a deck. And I recall we had talked about existing versus what's new. And I still am not seeing what was there in comparison to like an overlay. It's like, what is this new plan going
well-
over what's already there?
So
If you-
Diane, Jim, wait till I
Yep.
call upon you.
Okay.
please. So Diane, originally this came in with an aerial showing an existing deck that was in the yard that had been removed.
Yeah.
Now, I wasn't at the last meeting that this was originally brought up, but it was the question of being elevated, showing the piling details. And then there was a suggestion if you attach it to the house.
Yeah.
So that's what's gone on. So Jim, the question is, what's the size of the proposed deck? You're showing
I'm
existing.
showing
deck.
a 10 by 16. That'll
That's
be
what-
2 feet off. The rest of the deck is there.
Yeah.
But if I'm gonna attach it to the existing deck, and the other deck's really falling down, so I'm gonna redo the whole thing. But I'm only adding the 10 by 16, which was square footage wise was the same size it was sitting right on the ground before. And I took it up because it was falling apart. But it had been up for so long that Mary said it's been up for over a year. Technically, it doesn't fall within the guidelines. It's got to be 2 feet off the ground. And she said, if I was going to attach it to the house, and I told her I was going to put it exactly where it was. And I said, if I can attach it to the house, I'd rather. And she asked for a set of plans.
Yeah. Yep, no, I
Yeah.
think the question was 10 by 16, Jim, and you answered that.
Yeah.
Diane, do you have any other questions for Jim on this one?
No, that's fine.
Okay, I don't have any questions. I'm gonna go back to TJ.
Yeah, no questions. I too was not at that meeting, but I see what's going on.
Okay, all right, any raised hands from the public at this time, Mason?
Not seeing any.
Okay, if anyone would like to comment on this RDA, just state your name and address. Okay, hearing none. Do any members have a request for any additional information? Okay, hearing no request, I will entertain a motion to issue a negative finding for 105 Northern Boulevard.
So moved.
Diane? Second?
Second,
Mick, is that you?
yes, it is.
Okay. Okay, roll call, all in favor. TJ,
I,
Woody,
Yes,
Woody, I apologize. I skipped right over you. You're hard to be invisible, you're just such a important feature of this commission.
I didn't have any questions. I would have spoke up.
Okay, well, sorry about that, Woody.
No, it's okay.
Okay, Mick?
I joined late.
No additional questions, thank you.
Okay, Diane?
Yes. We're
And
voting
Bob
on the
Connors
motion.
votes yes. Okay. All right, thank you, Jim and Heidi.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Mason-
everyone.
Mason should
Thank-
get this out to you this week.
Thank you, Mason.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a good night.
Okay. Okay, next matter is a request for determination of applicability for 1249th Street. Applicant is submitting an RDA to propose deck expansion on the property's east and west facing decks. The property is on a primary frontal dune and has existing beach grass vegetation surrounding the decks. Team, if you recall, we had asked for a little better plan set. The plan set and the pictures didn't quite match. It was lacking the staircase. The applicant did submit that. And Mason, why don't you take it from there and give us
Yeah,
a-
so
update.
they had made some changes to identify the mitigation planting area as well as labeling and drawing the stairs on the plan. I believe the only thing we're waiting on now is a cross section for how the deck is going to be stabilized. Those plans are not updated and ready yet. They haven't been submitted, and therefore the applicant has requested a continuance to April 15th.
Okay. All right, anyone have any questions on this matter? Doesn't require, where it's not a public hearing, it doesn't require an actual formal vote to continue it, so. This matter will be continued to the April 15th meeting.
right?
All right, so it's just the cross-section elevation that we're waiting on this one. Okay, we have a request for determination of applicability, 5 Basin Front Drive. Applicant is submitting an RDA for renovations on their home on Plum Island. The applicant proposes to expand and build a bathroom into an existing porch footprint and add an indoor shower. The project is location is on a Barrier Beach. Mason, why don't you give us an overview on this, and if the applicant is here, after your overview, identify yourself and.
Yeah, so they've submitted some site plan, or excuse me, some construction plans to show where the extension is, and then the proposed elevation of the new addition. I can share that now if the applicant wants to introduce themselves, and then I can also share some photos on site to give everyone a better understanding of where this project is and where the extension is happening.
Okay, so we're looking at the porch. Okay, so it's an enclosed porch, but it's not winterized, is that what?
Correct. There's no screens or anything like that, just a covered porch.
Okay,
And I'll share some photos now as well.
that's the porch they went to enclosed.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, anything else you want to add? Do you have a recommendation on this one, Mason?
I would just suggest that the applicant make it clear if there's going to be any groundwork being done here, if any new piles need to be added in during the closing off of the structure and construction. But besides that, no other suggestions.
Okay, if the applicant is present, you could just give us your name and your address and make your presentation.
I believe he was in here. I'm not sure if we lost him.
What is the applicant's name, Mason?
I believe it's Dave. Let me double check on that. Yeah, Dave Roulette.
Okay,
Not seeing him.
was there a site plan with this one?
No site plan, just
But he's not extending beyond the footprint. of the
no, all
existing.
within the existing footprint.
Okay. Well, what we could do is just make it clear as on the RDA, if we want to, on the negative finding, is that, you know, no disturbance to existing vegetation. And if there is a requirement to add pilings, they have to be a helical, a helical pile. Or we'll just say sonotube concrete piles cannot be used for support. So why don't I just open that up? Guys, what are your thoughts on this one?
I think it's pretty straightforward.
Okay. Woody, what's your thoughts on this one?
Well, like it's already been stated, if he's staying within the footprint, not using sonotubes, using the right kind of piling.
Yeah.
I don't see a problem with it. It's already closed off to the ground.
Okay. Mick, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I don't know, on the first drawings that Mason showed, it appeared that it was the only change was really the roof line. Am I correct on that, Mason?
I think they're just enclosing the sides, making it,
There was a change to the roof line as well.
was there? Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, I can share that.
Well,
Okay, they're
The
making it,
left is existing and the right is,
okay, so they want to put more of a gable end on that than a flat roof.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think if there's no change to, anything below ground and they're not expanding, it should
Yeah, I
be
mean,
okay to go forward. Yeah.
okay, are you comfortable or just say that in the event that that footings need to be replaced, that concrete sonotubes are not allowed?
Yeah, they'd have to meet the basic standard, but just changing the roof line too. It doesn't
Yeah.
appear to, you have runoff in one direction, now you have runoff in two directions. So, just as long as they compensate for that, I look at the design and so you've got a roof pitch into your stairway. So, they're obviously hopefully gonna compensate for that, but
Mm.
that's more of a construction issue as opposed to a conscom issue.
Well, we can, we get two choices. We can try to condition the RDA, or we can just continue this to the next meeting and the applicant can, verify exactly what he's trying to do rather than us trying to
Yeah,
propose it.
that would be my suggestion. I don't know, it's just my preference that the applicant's here when we
Yeah.
do approval.
Okay, no, I don't disagree. It's pretty
Yeah.
clear cut, but it's.
Yeah.
Okay, so why don't we continue this to the April 15th? If the applicant should pop back on, Mason, if he got disconnected for some reason, we can circle back to this before the meeting's over.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. All right, next application is a request for applicability. 13 Plum Bush Downs, applicant is submitting an RDA for installing a crushed shell driveway and other minor associated site work. Project is within 100 feet of the salt mark, proposes native plantings as well. Mason, why don't you give us a quick overview, and is the applicant here?
Yes, the applicant is here. Yeah, so it's the addition of a crushed shell drive. Right now it is not really vegetated. It's just kind of dirt and mud. It's been kind of just torn up and degraded. In addition to the proposal of the additional clamshells, he's proposing to remove an old concrete holding tank. And I believe that he is planning on doing some native plantings as well around the property. So I will share the site plan and hand it over to the applicant.
Thanks for blowing that up, Mason, because
Yeah. Where is the concrete tank, Mason, that they're proposing to remove, or the concrete pad?
Right,
Oh, okay, I see it.
yeah, right
Yeah.
here.
Tree in between the house and the driveway. Okay. All
Right.
right, is the applicant on the call? And if he could give us his name and address and make his presentation.
Yep, Seamus Quirk, 13 Plumbush Downs, and Mason pretty much summed it up. So thank you for that. Just wanted to kind of make some more parking in the area so it wasn't so crowded with the neighbor in an area that was really not much to it anyway. Like you said, just kind of dirt and mud right now as it is. I was proposing two walkways as well, one to the back deck and one to the front deck from the driveway. And then also some plantings around the front of the house there as well.
Okay. Seamus, why don't I stop you there and I'll open this up to questions from the members.
Okay.
TJ, any questions for Seamus on this project?
Is there a graph of proposed versus existing numbers of what you're getting, what you're giving back to as to what you're expanding?
I think the question is, we're giving you something, what are you giving us back? What improvements are you making? You gotta pay the piper, Seamus.
Gotcha.
Or
Yeah, I think
Looks like you
part of
have
that
some
is.
proposed in there, but just to quantify what it is.
Sure. I think part of that is removing that tank, obviously, and then trying to do some more of these like native plantings around the house. Or I saw on the mass.gov website, they have like a list of recommended coastal landscaping plants as well. So probably something of that nature. And then, like I said, I mean, so that's, I guess, what it would be as far as giving back right now. Like I said, there's not much there. It's a lot of mud and dirt and at the time, with the time being. So propose like a pervious material, obviously, for water drainage and stuff. But
I mean, typically, you have an existing driveway and you have a proposed driveway. I think that's what TJ is getting at.
yeah,
And
so I
what's
think
what's the delta between the two?
we lost the picture there, but
I was gonna pull up some photos if that helps.
oh, okay.
Yep.
Perfect. I think that proposed, I should pull it up here too.
Yeah, I'll just bring this back up for now. I gotta share the photos over to my computer and then I can share those with everyone.
So the line does show kind of where it's gray. You could see like that 5.6 at the bottom right, kind of it says 5.6, 5.6, 5.8. So that's kind of where the driveway stops now. And it's all like 3/4 crushed stone there, but basically to that front walkway, or where it shows the proposed front walkway, excuse me, if you cut a line kind of straight across to the boathouse, that's everything under that is so where it's all dirt and mud. So it's not really like an existing driveway per se, just in the sense that it doesn't have like any of that 3/4 crushed stone brought in, but you can yeah, thank you. Perfect. Yeah. So that whole area is kind of dirt and mud, and then you can see the property line where that goes and where that kind of faded gray line is in front of the proposed driveway. Yep, so that kind of follows what's existing. Doesn't leave much room there, so it gets tight with the neighbor sometimes with cars pulling in
So,
and out and
Seamus,
stuff.
so,
Yeah,
so just to recap, you're really looking to refresh an area that you currently park on.
looking to refresh an area that we
And then-
currently park on, and then
And the two additional items are the actual walkways to your extended deck and to your front stairs.
correct.
that's the
And I
new-
guess bring it forward a little bit, like to the from that red line forward. So yeah.
Okay, Mick, any other questions?
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna, I'm thinking like Mary right now, we'd want to see
Yeah.
a list of plants that are gonna be used, that are proposed to be planted.
So one of the ones that I had seen on that list of recommended coastal landscaping plants was like the longleaf hydrangeas. So those would be proposed for across the front of the building there.
Okay, what about dune grass planting? Although you're not in a primary dune, so it's kind of a,
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that.
okay, Mick, why don't I circle back? Let's see what other questions and I'll circle back to you. Okay.
Sounds good.
Diane, what questions do you have for Seamus on this?
What are the walkways made out of?
Um,
Are they just on the ground?
yeah. Yeah, probably like some stepping, like rectangular stepping stone with probably like little strips of grass in between or something.
And that's usually a no-no, right?
No, that's only on the island. This is.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
it from my understanding, 30 inches and under in width
Right.
was exempt from
Doesn't
review,
require-
but I just
Doesn't
wanted
require
to show
approval.
them on the plan so you guys could understand the intent though.
That was me, Seamus, not you. I was
Oh.
thinking, I forgot we weren't on Plum Island.
Gotcha.
Okay, so just pavers, basically. And where it says proposed deck expansion permitted, is that already been permitted, or are we asking you?
That was already permitted, yes.
It begs the question, Seamus, that why didn't this all come in together at one, as one idea?
Yeah, I think it was just one of those things is I spend more time over there and I'm
Yeah.
working over there and like I said, parking and then with the neighbor, it just like I said, spend more time. It was just something that I thought of during that period that I've been spending working over there. An afterthought, I guess you would say.
Projects seem to always grow in scope,
Yeah, exactly.
especially when my wife's involved.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, so I really don't have any questions and I don't have a problem with this. I think to Mick's point, if you could add, what are you proposing to put in? 2, 4, 6, 8 coastal trees and shrubs?
Yeah.
If you kick that up to a dozen and you give us the species or a couple of the species, I think I'd be okay with this. Mick, I'm gonna circle back to you.
Yeah.
What are your
Just
thoughts
real
on? What are your
quick,
thoughts on-
sorry. I think there's an opportunity to add some more for sure. On the right side of the bulkhead, and then also where that concrete tank was on the side of the house as well.
Hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, Seamus, like, you're gonna have some ground disturbance with that, where you're gonna remove that tank. So
Yeah.
to reestablish that with some plantings.
Yeah,
I think it's a good
absolutely.
idea, like, Bob suggested some beach grasses, combined with, some coastal shrubs, I think would be a great idea.
Okay.
All right, there's Woody.
My, my only questions were, already answered, what the walkways were made out of. And if I do recall from when we saw you before on the deck extension, it's lawn all the way around the house, correct?
It's what?
Lawn, manicured lawn? mowed
Yes.
lawn?
Yep.
Yep, no, so I'm good. Thank you. I
Okay.
have no other questions.
Okay, are there any raised hands from the public at this time? Okay, Mason, you don't, if anyone has a question on this project, just give us your name and address. Okay, hearing none. All right, so team, to do a recap, I think if we consider a negative determination, I don't want to use the word conditioning it, but just any disturbed areas must be revegetated and like kind, that the applicant will submit to the agent the species of 12 shrubs and determine the location in the field with the agent. And I think that way there where any disturbance, we're gonna get it if it's lawn or whatever, we're gonna get it reseeded. And adding some bushes to this project will it'll then be a benefit, to the resource in my mind. So what's everyone's thought on that? Mick, that sound okay?
I think that's good. That's a good plan, Bob. Yeah, not conditioning, but just making sure that
Yeah, we'll just add
disturbed
the-
areas get revegetated.
Okay,
Absolutely. Yeah, that would be the
TJ,
intent.
I'm
TJ,
good,
any-
Bob, with that, yeah.
okay. Diane, how about you?
Fine.
Woody, does that work
Sounds
for
good.
you?
Sounds good.
Okay, I will entertain a motion to issue a negative finding for 13 Plum Bush Downs with a couple of additions of all disturbed areas to be revegetated, and that the applicant will supply and install 12 native or coastal trees or shrubs with let me just think how I want to say this. I feel like I'm in a detective's room. The sun is just shining in on me here. I can barely
I
see
got,
myself.
I
You
got
have
the
a great-
same thing.
You have a great
going on.
glow. You have a great
Oh,
glow.
yeah. And that he'll have a pre-meeting with the agent, prior to planting, prior to start of work.
Okay. So, just to clarify, with that determination, I can go ahead and install the driveway walkways, but prior to plantings, call Mason for a pre-meeting.
Yep, and usually what you do is you just call for him for a pre-meeting, kind of go over everything,
Yeah,
where you're gonna lay out everything, what you're doing. And
yeah,
at
okay,
that time, verify where you're gonna put the shrubs and the species,
okay, very
okay?
good.
And then at the end is just make sure anything you disturbed is replanted.
Yep, okay.
Mason, do you have that? You got that information?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so you've heard my motion. I will entertain a motion as stated. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
TJ and Diane. Okay, roll call, all in favor. TJ,
Aye.
Woody,
Yes.
Mick,
Aye.
Diane,
Yes.
and Bob Connors. Okay, thank you, Seamus.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Yeah.
Well, bushes. All right. Next matter is a request for determination of applicability. 1 Jackson Way, applicant is submitting an RDA to install a standby generator on the left side of the house. Concrete pad is proposed to be constructed as a platform. Hey, Mason, why don't you give us an overview on this? And if you can, whatever was submitted, I noticed there was kind of a location was submitted, but there wasn't an elevation on the platform, as I recall.
Yeah, so like you said, pretty straightforward. Installing a standby generator on the left side of the house. We can see here the rough location on the map, and I can share some photos after to show what's existing there. Yeah, and like you said, Bob, I would just recommend that the applicant kind of clarify elevation for the proposed concrete pad, and how the generator is going to be attached to the pad or attached to the house, however it's going to be secured.
Yeah. Is the applicant present?
I believe.
This is Sam Gobriel. I'm Kareem's dad. Kareem is probably on the train. I don't know if he tried to call in, but I'm helping my son with this project and working with Moral Electric.
Okay,
I visited with the owner of Moral Electric when he located the generator from the corner of the house, and it is a prefab pad, as I understand it, and it would be a minimum of 2 feet off the ground, maybe 3, but I guess we'll just see how it ends up being. But basically, that's the plan. That existing small shed right there is the old standby generator. It will be to the right of that, towards the corner of the building, away from the deck, and away from, it will clear the required measurements from the window as well as the deck, the height.
Sam, where is the propane? I'm assuming this is gonna be powered by propane?
The propane tanks are in the back of the house, so it's the opposite corner, exactly the opposite corner. So it's the back right of the house where the existing 2 propane tanks are right now.
Now, to run the piping for the propane to the proposed generator location, are you just going to attach that to the house, or are you proposing trenching it, burying it, or?
Proposing to bury it, so they'll dig a trench to the back corner of the house and then make a right-hand turn and dig a trench and go and connect to the line right where the tanks are.
Okay, now Mason, you were out, you've done a site visit on this?
Yes, I have.
It looks pretty sparsely vegetated.
Yeah,
and,
there's not much vegetation in this back area, underneath the
Okay.
deck.
Okay, so the trenching would be under the deck where you really don't have any vegetation? Okay.
Correct.
Okay, why don't I hold you there and open this up to questions from the members? TJ, any questions?
Yeah,
On this?
what is the generator sitting on, gonna be sitting on?
Going to be sitting on a concrete pad and then on top of the concrete pad will be a wooden, I believe it's made out of the wood, the pressure treated wood. So it's a platform to raise it off the ground.
Okay,
Okay, anything else, TJ?
no, the tanks are already there, I assume, correct? The
The
propane tanks?
existing tank for the house, yes.
Okay, no, I'm good.
Okay. Woody, questions for Sam on this one?
No further questions. They've all been answered.
Okay. Mick, questions for Sam?
I am all set on this one, Bob. Thanks.
Okay, Diane, how about yourself?
Nope.
Question?
Thank you.
Okay, so Sam, traditionally, we want to see the generator elevated by 2 feet. And typically, it's just 4x4 pressure treated timbers put in the ground a couple of feet. And concrete is kind of a no-no out there on the island to support the base. Mason, could you share with Sam or the applicant, a typical, I think Dave Mullins' house on Northern Boulevard had the elevated tank, and it just gives you an idea what the commission usually accepts. So having a concrete pad on the ground and then building off of it 2 feet. The 2 feet elevation is great, concrete pad is not. Okay, so why don't we do this? Mason, you can share with him a sketch and go over what we typically do.
Yep.
And it can all be done with pressure treated wood. That's what everyone else has been doing. And Mason could even give you a address that has the pad, the elevated pad that we typically approve. Okay. Mason, any comments? Do you have any further comments on this one?
Nothing further, no.
Okay. Are there any raised hands from the public at this time?
Seeing none.
Okay. All right, I will entertain a motion to issue a negative finding with the following comments. No concrete pad is allowed for the base. The generator will be elevated a minimum 2 feet above grade. And the trenching is, any trenching that disturbs vegetation will be revegetated. Okay. All right, so that's the motion. Who wants to make the motion?
So moved.
Okay, TJ, Diane?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, roll call, all in favor? TJ,
Aye.
Woody,
Yes,
Mick,
Aye.
Diane,
Yes.
and Bob Connors, yes. Okay, thank you. All right, we have 3 enforcement orders outstanding, of which none of them require any action tonight. We have no extension requests. We have no certificate of compliance request. So continue public hearings. Continue public hearing, DEP file number 0501444 80 Northern Boulevard. Applicant is submitting a notice of intent for demolishing, removing an existing single-family dwelling. The existing garage on site will remain untouched. Construction of a new single-family home will follow the demolition process. Additional site improvements are also outlined in the NOI. The project site is located on or within a primary final dune. So that was the general description. The applicant has resubmitted a plan. It has gone through DEP, and they've eliminated the garage in its entirety, and they've reduced the size of the house to fit within the limits of the existing footprint. Mason, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I think you covered most of it. Like you said, updated plans, significantly reducing the scope, taking out the garage completely. It sits within the existing footprint now. And as of today, DEP has reviewed the most recent plan changes and are satisfied with the revisions, confirming that all comments that were originally posted were taken into account and addressed by the applicant.
Okay. Jason Mason, if you could put up the latest plan for everyone to review.
Yep.
And then,
Actually, I'll let TJ if he wants.
okay, is TJ going to
Yeah.
be presenting or?
Oh, I believe so.
Okay.
So I can let him. I'll make him co-host so he's able to share screen, and he can zoom in as he likes.
Good evening, everyone. TJ Melvin with Millennium Engineering. I think the applicant, Al Ward, actually wanted to speak first, but I can pull the plans up as he kind of goes through some of the changes we've made, and then I get it to Bill.
Okay. So Al, welcome. If just give us your name and address, and if you want to make some opening comments, please feel free to.
Sure. Yeah, it's my name's Al Ward from 80 Northern Boulevard, and my comments are pretty much already addressed by your opening statements here. Just wanted to talk about how we, after considering issues brought up by the neighbors and the DEP, we decided to change the location of the proposed house and move it further north away from the dune and eliminate the garage entirely. So we're now staying within the existing footprint of the current house, which resolved all the issues by the DEP. But yeah, so that's just to kind of recap what you've already been discussed here. So TJ, I could just hand it over to you to kind of go over the details in more depth.
Yeah, no problem.
TJ, could you just expand that plan a little bit?
Yeah, I was just kind of doing it so you could see existing versus proposed, but we can pop back into the existing here.
Yeah, there you go.
So again, like someone stated, previously the garage was proposed to remain. We're proposing to remove that at this point. House is shifted up pretty much right on the setback line. We're like a foot off just to allow for a little bit of play during construction, kind of maximizing the buffer between the southern abutter and the most southern part of the house. As doing such, we slid the house back to meet the front setback line. We've obviously removed the remainder of the house. This kind of crosshatch here that we're showing is the limit of clean wash stone we plan to install as part of the parking area and driveway for the lot. This area here is currently paved. We're proposing to leave that in place just to serve as kind of that portion of the driveway. This was currently paved as well. That will be removed. Let me hop over to the existing plan for a second. Remember previously we had kind of a big green area here of dune vegetation that was going to have to be taken out as part of the old previous location of the proposed dwelling. The two areas we're showing now to be removed. This area here is mowed and maintained lawn by the applicant, and this area is kind of like a planter bed, non-native dune. It's not a dune grass area, so those two areas are proposed to come out. The remaining dune grass surrounding the existing dwelling will remain in place. Which kind of leads into, we were in front of the commission before where we had showed some replication planting areas in the back here within the natural heritage. Limit, we've taken those off the plan as we're no longer disturbing any of the dune vegetation. The other thing we are proposing is a fence along the northern property line, just to kind of keep anyone traveling down to the beach off of the applicant's property. And one thing is the existing fence along the front portion of the house. We were previously proposing to remove a portion to allow access to the parking for the proposed dwelling. That has come off, so the fence as it is out there today will remain in place, kind of preventing access from the public through this portion of the site. Then we've updated the funky looking erosion control line to just hug around the existing foundation. And then any disturbed areas as part of what was foundation or driveway areas like this, or the garage that are supposed to be removed, will all be replaced with sand. And as Mason had stated, we did receive confirmation from DEP that all their previous comments have been addressed, and I believe we're good to go from their perspective. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions the commission may have.
Okay, let me start. What is the square footage of the pavement you want to retain?
Right up here. So we're proposing to keep 654 square feet of pavement.
Okay. And what's the proposed wash stone area for the, what I'm getting to, TJ, is that our bylaw limits you up to 2 parking spaces. You certainly have a right to maintain the pavement area, but you don't get to expand in another area unless you're eliminating the pavement. And I think we allowed 2 9x18 parking spaces of 324 square feet.
Yeah, understood. I think
I was gonna say that the property currently, we get 7 cars, 8 if they're small, because we're getting rid
Oh,
of the
yeah,
garage.
no, Al, I get that, but you're doing a redevelopment. You're doing a tear down and a redevelopment. And you're limited. We can't let you expand your parking area before what's already grandfathered. So the wash stone that you're showing, if you could go back to that plan, TJ. I mean, that looks almost like walking like pavers, that's not 1.5 inch minus crushed stone that you're proposing under the property, or where are you proposing to park the cars under the house?
So I believe the under the house spot would be the furthest north, one spot there,
Okay,
and then the 2 south ones, where the other has a stairway to the second to the top has a stairway to get in, and the other one has a like a shaft for utilities.
yeah, like I say, I think you've done a great job in reducing the scope and meeting a lot of the concerns of the neighbors. I'm struggling with the square footage you're proposing, expansion of a driveway beyond what's already grandfathered. And then you're proposing to add, what are you using for stone, TJ? What's proposed stone size? Is this a stone gravel, or is it?
it's a clean wash stone. I know that the hatch is deceiving. We kind of just do that for depiction purposes, but it will be, 1.5 inches at the surface. What we've been doing, a lot of times we get talked to by contractors a lot that if you just do a full depth of, small stone, it tends to cause a lot of running issues. So we've kind of come up with something similar to this, is give you more structural deeper and then a small stone at the surface.
Okay, why don't I do this? Why don't I open this up to questions to the members? I'm still, I'm not sold on the proposed driveways beyond what's non-conforming, but let's open this up to other members. TJ, what questions do you have TJ Conti, what do you have
Mhm.
for TJ?
I agree with you, Bob, on the parking. If they take up the hot top and put all crushed stone, does that mitigate some of the extra parking?
Well, if you realize we've had a matter right down the street
Yeah.
that it was,
Open
they were
it to-
looking for more than 2 parking spots. It became an issue. Town council ruled that, they were adding up to 2 parking spots. Al Ward does have existing parking here that he can maintain, but he can't exceed what he already had. Now, he's
Right.
grandfathered to a certain extent to the hot top that he has, and in the past, we've considered letting them remove the hot top and put in pavers, but they have every right to maintain the hot top. It's a non-conforming existing yard feature.
So could I just,
But to expand beyond that is where I'm hung up, but yeah, TJ, you had a response to that?
yeah, so I just wanted to clarify one thing. So you had kind of mentioned the addition of parking spaces. So if we did not increase the amount of spaces from what's currently there, would that be acceptable to the commission? Like if we, limited this to 3 under the building and 3 up front for a total of 6, where currently they can get 7, including the garage?
Well,
Is that-
but you're kind of moving it from point A to point B, TJ.
Yeah.
It's just, this has gone through town council, it's gone through DEP. There was an appeal on this very same issue in another location. And so it's kind of on the front burner for the commission. And our bylaws do give you up to 2 parking spaces if you don't have them. So you've got what, 600, go back to your table, if you would.
Yep. Yeah, so we. Yeah, see that,
I
okay.
mean, what may be an improvement is if you eliminate all bituminous concrete and go to crushed stone. That might be an offset that we might be able to find some wiggle room there to give you what you want, give you the access that you want, but so let me hold there. TJ Conti, any further questions? I'll
No,
circle back.
my
with
only
everybody.
question, if they eliminated the concrete, the hot top.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. Woody, what are your thoughts on this? The parking seems to be the topic right now.
Yes, I have a couple questions. Parking under the building, are those considered parking spaces on the 2 that you're talking about? Or
No, because they're
Okay.
within the building, so.
all right, so the 2 parking spaces only apply to the pavement that they're leaving behind out front,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, but just to be clear, if they had no parking, they could have 2. If they had 1 parking spot, they could go to 2. If they had more than that, they're grandfathered. Okay, so where the square footage comes in, they really can't have more than the square footage of bituminous that they're proposing as parking outside the footprint of the house.
Outside of the footprint of the house, okay. Now, where the hashtag rock is, if you just moved the screen, but
Yeah, sorry, I was just trying to double check one thing as we talked about that. Yeah, go ahead.
no worries, sorry. But on the screen there, it says the 21.8, that's the pavement. And the hashtag below it, that
This
is,
right here.
yeah, what is that right
Yeah.
now? Pavement or sand?
This is like kind of the maintained lawn and planters in front of the
Okay.
house here. So this is the
There
limit
is,
of,
there's some
pavement, right?
pavement. If you move over to the
yeah, there's like
existing,
a walkway and
so there's all the area in this, to the right where there's like a squared off area, a little more to the right, TJ. This is all
yeah, that's
pavement
all
right
paved
there.
now.
So this is a paved driveway inside where TJ's cursor is circling, all the way up to the property line where it is now. So that's all asphalt.
I could share a photo if that would be helpful.
Yeah, no, I think we're clear on that, and it's, we're getting back to what
I just
dune
don't-
improvement are you making? You're in a very active primary frontal dune. By removing the house and raising it up, all good marks, by keeping it within the footprint, you know, same thing. But, you know, dune performance is always our concern. And, you know, although you have pavement, you can keep it all where it is, but the minute you start moving it around or eliminating it, it doesn't carry forward in my mind. So if you, the 21.8 or the 600 feet is what you're leaving remaining outside the footprint of the proposed house, correct, TJ?
Correct, yep, the 654 is what we are currently
Okay.
proposing to keep.
Yeah.
With
Okay.
a net reduction of 776.
Yep. So, because you're eliminating that because you're building the house on top of it.
Correct.
Now, what is the area where you show the wash stone? Clean wash, okay. See, I mean, you're adding 2,400 square feet of clean wash stone.
Yeah, so outside of the building footprint, we're adding 520 square feet of crushed stone,
Which is additional driveway. I mean, it
Correct.
ultimately.
which is still less than the total of the current driveway now. Even with this additional driveway shown, we're still.
Yeah, no, but
reducing the overall driveway by 220
you're,
square.
you're abandoning the pavement where the footprint of the house is. So that's a decision you make, not us.
Yeah, no, it was just kind of going back to.
Yep,
You know.
okay.
the
All right,
amount that we're not actually
let me
I'm-
hold, let me hold you all there. Let me just get on to the next member. Mick, questions on this project?
I'm gonna move away from the driveway issue for a second, if that's okay.
Yeah, no, certainly. It's,
Now, one of the things that we discussed on the site visit, I think, and was just a topic for discussion, I think in the previous meeting about raising, you know, and the demolition of the existing building and what the plans are for that, and how the dune to the south side of the construction is going to be protected. You know, what's your limit of encroachment on that dune for demolition? You know, what's the plan for, you know, live, are you going to be live loading? Is there going to be dumpsters? You know, what's the plan for demo and construction with relation to protecting that dune, that frontal dune?
Sure, yes, I have spoken at length with the demo company, and they provided a letter that kind of explained that they're going to be working from the north side of the house, starting on the south side and caving everything in to itself. So they're not going to be accessing south of the house itself. They're going to start inside the middle area in that paved driveway that I referred to before, where TJ's cursor is, and basically bring everything in on itself and haul it away piece by piece that way.
So basically, like, pull the garage out, pull that west towards Northern Boulevard, then move in, kind of or pulling forward, heading in the southerly direction.
I mean, basically, correct. Starting like from the street, driving into the driveway, and just kind of pulling everything in on itself, so that they don't access any of the sand area of the property at any time during demolition.
Okay. Yeah, I think it'd be good, Al and TJ, to add to your plans if it's not, I don't see it on this plan, but, you know, a limit of work. I
yeah, it
think
was
would
actually
be-
on the.
Yeah, it's right here.
Okay. Okay.
Which this kind of just.
Oh, okay.
What we
Yep.
done in the past, Mick, they either put up snow fence or
Right.
orange fence just to keep everybody from.
Yeah, no, that's where I was going, just to have that visual barrier where your limit of work is.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, Mick. Diane,
Yeah.
I'll circle back, Mick, because we're gonna have public comment. We'll have.
I
Jane, what are your thoughts on this
I
one?
think it greatly improves the situation that was going on with the dune there.
Yeah,
but
no, I
in
think
do-
it does.
In doing so, unfortunately, you've stripped yourself of some parking. So back to the parking issue. Yeah, I mean, I really don't have questions. I understand what's going on here, but it's just how many parking spaces? So you have 3 under the house, and then one. How many up to the house from on Northern Boulevard?
It's 3 or 4, depending on how large the vehicles are. And the way we, the way we wrote it out this way is because it's similar to what we have now. It's now all on pavement, getting 7, but the proposed one has a reasonable way to park the same amount. So really 3 to 4 in front and 3 under is really what we're looking at.
Yeah, so Diane, the parking under the house, the issue with parking, if it's under the house, it's not displacing vegetation.
Yeah,
If it's outside the footprint of the house, the intent is to minimize the disturbance of vegetation in a primary funnel dome.
and what's under here now? Under where the crushed rock leading from the street to the house?
That's primarily just a typical sandy, gravelly. It's not hot top, it's not crushed out,
vegetated,
yeah. It's Plum Island barren land.
Yeah.
And it has a cement walkway in the middle of it as well to the front door at that same spot where the stone is. That area there is concrete
All
path.
that hatches, that's all concrete?
Yeah, not the
No,
hatch,
sorry.
between the
This
hatches.
part
Oh,
right here.
okay, all right, yeah.
So this area is an area that,
Yeah, that's
the applicant
lawn and the
currently
other
mows
side's a
his
little
lawn.
garden.
and this is,
Okay.
yeah.
And the driveway goes all the way to the property line in the existing to the north up there where we're
Mhm.
starting at where like that 17 number is here. We're getting rid of that pavement portion 10 feet from the property line.
Can't solve it. Right, what's the fence made out of that you're gonna be putting in there? On the walkway side? On the 23rd Street side?
We were thinking of a fence comparable to the one that's in front of the house now, which is just a, what do you call them, TJ, like a two.
Split rail.
But rail.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay,
That's it, I don't know.
all right, so let me circle back, TJ Conti. Any follow-up questions for Al or TJ?
No, just how to handle this parking issue. We do have precedents that we have to adhere to, but so under the house does not count as additional stone that they're putting down. Am I understanding that correctly?
It doesn't count in my mind as additional parking spaces.
Right, okay. So the only additional is in the front of the house.
It's the opposite. When a parking spot is created, it eliminates vegetation. If you add a parking spot, it's less vegetation than you can add. But you have a right to maintain, what's existing. But you don't have a right to just put it any place you want either. If you're gonna
Correct.
abandon it because you wanna put a house there, that's a conscious decision you make as the applicant. But
I have a question regarding that. Can I ask it now?
yeah, you can.
Does the existing in front of the house parking? I was led to believe that would hold a precedent of what's existing. Like, is it in front of the house currently that's paved, not including the garage in the house, but in front of the garage and in front of the breezeway and the rest of it, that area that TJ is referring to, it's currently paved for 3 to 4 parking spaces.
Yeah, we're not limiting you. You're entitled to keep that square footage. Okay, so that you have that because it's existing. You're eliminating the other square footage, but you have a right to maintain that parking, paved area.
So if what I'm doing is I'm eliminating some of the paved area where the cursor is right now and putting sand, keeping the other two pieces here and then putting in stone. If I'm going from 3 to 4 in front of the house now to 3 to 4 in front of the house for the proposed, I'm just a little confused as to what the issue, can I get some clarification on what the issue is? Because I think you might have explained it, but I didn't understand. Like if I'm going from 3 to 4 now in front of the house to 3 to 4.
Well, you're entitled up to 2 if you didn't have any parking or if you had 1. You have a non-conforming area of hot top that you can maintain, or you can eliminate, but you can't really relocate it into another spot.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
The whole object, you're in a primary frontal dune, and what we're looking for and what the department is going to be looking for is what dune improvement are you making? Certainly you've made that by eliminating a soil bearing foundation, and you're going to eliminate the garage. But again, that's a conscious decision that you're making, that you want to do for the improvement. Our goal is we want to minimize pavement, parking, and improve planting. That's really what we're doing. We manage the resource. What's in the best interest of the resource? I guess what I'm saying, Al, is you can keep the pavement that you have. That's, if you leave the pavement where it is and work around, take it all out of the house, you have every right to maintain that. If you took it all out, you're back to 2 parking spots.
I see what you're saying. So what you're saying is, not that I'm proposing this not just yet, but if it's an option for us, and you think it'd be better, we would consider it. So the part to the north of the driveway that we were going to pull the asphalt off, that part there, if we leave that as asphalt, and then to the south where the pavers are, we take away some of those pavers, that would be more desirable to stay within the rules of the town. Is that,
Yeah,
I maybe getting it wrong? I just want to see, is that accurate?
What is non-conforming, you have a right to maintain. But it doesn't mean you can say, I'm going to take 200 square feet here, I'm going to put it behind the house. You can maintain an existing non-conforming yard feature. Okay, but you cannot expand beyond that because you're already over what's allowed by the bylaw. So your non-conforming parking now exceeds the bylaw, but again, it's non-conforming and it's existing. The minute you eliminate it or you want to try to relocate it, it's not existing anymore. It's proposed.
So Bob, can I jump in on that?
Yeah,
So-
TJ, go ahead.
Well, I guess the thought is, so if we maintain all of this, all this pavement and eliminate this, that's fine. But
Yeah,
taking this out and putting this as not, which seems a little counterintuitive. I get what you're saying, like the precedent, the bylaw, just, typically thinking, removing the pavement.
If you
replacing-
were talking crushed stone the whole way, TJ.
Yeah.
Many commissions would probably make you take out all the pavement and put crushed stone in.
Yeah.
We recognize non-conforming existing yard features, which, I believe is the fairest way to do it, because I live in the island and my paved driveway was existing, but I didn't move it 1 foot, 1 inch. But was able to maintain it. And trust me, it's a big plus. TJ, my next door neighbor, would love to have my driveway, but I'm
So
not sharing
could
it.
I ask one other question? And I obviously haven't talked to the applicant about this, but if we were to remove this pavement and replace it with all clean washed stone and still remove this, so there'd be 0 pavement. I know it's still the parking issue, but at some point, do we reach a net
Yeah,
benefit of the
Well,
dune?
I think because you've eliminated impervious surface. And I would be more more open to that, to be honest with you.
So either of the two options you're more open to is leave all the asphalt where it is and get rid of the impervious or the stone that's to the south,
Right.
or get rid of, replace everything with stone is what you're saying. One of those two would
I
be
mean,
more
I think,
desirable than the current.
I think it's an option. Well, anytime we can eliminate impervious materials on a, barrier, frontal dune, primary frontal dune. That has always been the goal, and DEP pushes quite hard for that.
Well, yeah, and that's why I was originally, that's why we're trying to do it this way, is to get rid of as much as we can, but we're still, I mean, from the environmental standpoint, very completely from the, shoveling standpoint and ripping up stone, we're lifting up stone as opposed to pavement. It was more of the convenience of that for the winter time. So that's kind of what we're struggling here.
No, listen, I get it. We've just gone down this whole road with the paving, with the parking issue, Al. And so we've got guidance from town council, they've guidance from DEP. I'm not sure it was appealed by an abutting neighbor. And I'm not sure if that's been resolved, but it had to go to MIPA because it was an appeal. And it became clear to me and to the commission that parking is what it is. You're in a good position because you have pavement and you do have a right to maintain it, but why don't we do this? We got a long agenda tonight. Let me go through this and open this up to public comments too, and let's see what the public would like to do. Any other members have a question before I open this up to the public? Okay, Mason, any raised hands from the public? And if we can just stack them up accordingly.
Yep. Looks like Jeff had his hand raised first.
Okay, Jeff, if you could give us your name and address, and then we ask you to be concise in your questions, if you could.
Great, thank you. Jeff Roloff, representing the abutters Tim and Anna Drost at 76 Northern Boulevard. Can I share my screen quickly?
Yep.
Yeah, certainly.
Thank you.
Should be good.
Good to go. Okay. Okay, so I'll move quickly through some of these slides. I just wanted to remind the commission, I've showed you these before. This is a really sensitive and unique area of the island being squeezed in between the beach and the basin. It's a velocity zone right through from the beach to the basin. There is a pretty significant area behind the existing house that, unlike all the neighbors, has been sort of historically disturbed and continued in that state, as you can see from this as well. Just moving through again. So here's a Google Maps street view of the project area. This area right in the front here is where they were proposing, you were just talking about the area that they're proposing to remove and replace with stones. Basically a new driveway. We've got some questions about that, as you do as well, but you can see it is actually a raised area and vegetated. I understand there's a walkway in the middle of it, but the front part is vegetated. And then over here, as I understand it, they're not proposing to impact this, but it wasn't clear from the plans. The fence that's there now goes to this location. So we question the extent to which this vegetation's proposed to be disturbed. That's just another image of it. And on this, I want to point out, so my clients are here. One of the measures or sets of measures they implemented that we think should be done here too, is that for the areas outside of the house where you're proposing to maintain dune vegetation, it's important to also put some measures in place to prevent people from actually walking through there and just continuing to use it as a pedestrian path. So you can see that done there, and we'll get back to that. You can see it more clearly here. So these are the kinds of measures I'll be referring to in terms of how to protect vegetated areas. getting to the point that this is a unique area and sensitive. These are some photographs that some of the residents provided to us. This is a site of the house at issue here today, and I think one of the storms just knocked off a portion of that house. Flood the functions served by these primary frontal dunes are important. So getting to the plan, the revised plan that's been submitted, you were just looking at the existing conditions. Here are the proposed conditions. These are our sort of list of concerns. So DEP, I saw that they did sort of sign off on things today. We were a little surprised because one of the comments that they had made on the 17th was a request to specify the temporary and permanent impacts to primary dune and how the project will result in a net improvement to the function of the dune. So I don't believe that the applicant has actually submitted any response to that. I know, I appreciate that the revisions are significant and an improvement over what was presented before. The question we're raising, though, is whether or not they've actually had a qualified professional get involved here to deal with the question of how this project will impact the dune, to be involved in the design and the measures aimed at protecting the dune to the extent that you can and mitigating it and also then protecting it long term. So there's not a professional wetlands consultant on the team or other coastal professional on the team. That's always been a concern of ours. Number two, maximizing the preservation of existing vegetation. That kind of goes to your parking issues and whether or not it makes sense to actually take out the vegetated area, even though it's been maintained as a lawn area. It still may serve some dune functions. I heard tonight that the areas that they're proposing to disturb within the limit of work, that they're going to be restoring those. The plans don't make it clear what they're proposing to do within the limit of work in the areas beyond the footprint and the driveways and parking areas. I think it should be clear that those areas are not only going to be backfilled with sand, but also planted. And then what are the specs on the planting? Ideally, there would be some monitoring. And then in addition to monitoring, just long-term protection. So what measures are you going to propose? They mentioned the fence in the front being maintained. What about on the north side of the property? If you're going to plant on the north side, is there going to be a 3-rail fence there to protect against, the occupants, potentially future owners and renters from just using those areas as pedestrian pathways? Just now taking those forward. In addition to the parking issues raised by the local bylaw, the state regulations also prohibit any modification of the dune form that would increase the potential for storm or flood damage. That provision has been interpreted as prohibiting the removal of dune elevation, which it looks like you would have to remove some elevation here if you're going to convert this sort of grassy area into a driveway area, right? So that's just another issue associated with the proposed driveway in that location. So there's been some clarification provided tonight. I couldn't tell from the plans, and I think maybe these constraints should be identified more clearly in the plans. From the elevations, it looks like there's potentially 4 different car bays. I know that Al said that this bay here isn't available for parking. The stairs are here, so there may be something else that prevents it, but it's just a question as to what areas under the building actually are available for parking, and the design comes into play there. So this is sort of my really makeshift attempt at evaluating the parking issue, but we're going to leave that to the commission. But existing conditions, we're seeing that you can probably get 6 or 7 cars there in the existing paved areas. Not having any reason to think otherwise, it seemed to me that you could just pull in multiple cars in each of these rows, and maybe I'm wrong about that. Al said you couldn't pull into this bay. I think the plan should be clarified as to which areas under the building are actually going to be available for parking. And then obviously in the front, as currently designed, it's definitely an expansion of the parking over existing conditions. That's the point of this. possibilities are, as you were discussing earlier, instead of taking out that grass area and filling it with stone, just maintain it as a vegetated area, improve it even, and then protect it with some sort of delineated, extend the three rail fence. So you've got solid vegetation there. If you can redesign things to make these two portions of the building available for parking, you can get 7 cars in just within this configuration, even if you do take out that pavement in the north. Again, I've highlighted this in green because I think the plan should make it clear that within the limit of work and on the property, there should be planting within the area, not just sand. And then that planting, again, should be defined by 3 rail or similar fencing to keep pedestrians from using it as a pathway. So that's one possible configuration. I'm not a wetlands consultant, but I'm raising the issue. Constrain the parking to what's there on the existing, identify the areas to be restored and vegetated, make it clear that we are talking about vegetation, and then identify measures to protect the vegetated areas long-term.
Jeff,
This goes to some of the notes.
let me do this, Jeff.
Yep.
You've raised a lot of points. One, I think TJ Melvin should have an opportunity to address these as we're bringing them up, rather than having, what's going to happen. You're going to get to your last point, and we're going to not be talking about the first.
Yeah, I'm
several
happy to
points,
start
so.
to pause. Yep.
Okay, yeah, and I think TJ will take exception that there's not a wetland professional on this project, but TJ, would you like to respond?
I have a lot of respect for TJ as a civil engineer. I don't think TJ is a wetlands consultant, but
Well, I know his team.
he can
usually
correct me
has
if I'm
that.
wrong.
TJ, would you like to respond to Jeff's initial questioning here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a certified wetland consultant. I mean, we've done permitting, Newburyport, Salisbury. I just really wanted to respond to the statement about, there's no net improvement here. We did respond to DEP's comments in a letter, which was submitted to the commission. Again, I'm not a coastal geologist, but we are removing a foundation at grade, removing a large portion of pavement, putting a building up in the air to avoid the pictures of what happened as shown in Mr. Roloff's or Attorney Roloff's slides. We are trying to improve this site. We're lifting the building up. We're removing hardened surfaces at grade, removing a foundation at grade, and replacing it with dune compatible materials. Granted, we're not proposing to replant every inch of the property. I personally don't know that that's warranted to gain a net improvement to the dune in this area. I don't disagree with the sketch that's kind of up in front of us. We can certainly look at a parking configuration, but kind of similar to what Jeff had, 6 or 7 spots currently on site, which I know we've gone back and forth on the parking. As far as protecting the southerly dune from people walking on it, I mean, this is the applicant's residence or property. They certainly don't want people walking through their property either. Proposing or maintaining the fence along the frontage to a driveway, I think kind of deters people from walking through someone's yard, and especially along the northern property line. Installing a fence there kind of keeps everyone along the 23rd pathway there. So that I know I didn't get everything, but that was the first couple of things that I just wanted to address, that we did respond to DEP and they seem to concur with our response that there is dune improvement for this property.
Can I just ask for clarity? Was there a letter that you submitted in addition to the revised plan? Because I didn't see that, if you did submit that.
Yes, we did.
Okay, well, I'm sorry then. I obviously
No,
didn't see everything you submitted, so.
I can send it off to you too.
Yeah,
afterwards.
So Jeff, why don't we do this? Mason, you have the communication from DEP responding. Mason reached out to the department today just to see if there are any additional comments regarding the latest plan submittal, so that we would be current on events tonight. And Mason, what was we could read the caption of.
Yep. So Georgia Pendergast is the reviewer at DEP, and she sent in an email today at 2 p.m. saying, I've reviewed the most recent plan changes and I'm satisfied with the revisions. They took into account all of my comments and I have nothing further to add.
Okay. So Jeff, from from my personal viewpoint, I read that the department is satisfied with the submittal.
Yeah,
And we're
Mr. Chairman, I
fine-tuning
totally
it.
agree with you. I didn't see the written response that went in with the revised
Okay.
site plan, so I was just perplexed as to how they had addressed that comment number 3. Obviously, they did. I didn't see that response, and it was to DEP's satisfaction, so I don't dispute that. And then I'll just wrap up my thoughts here. I mean, again, our biggest issue is the protection of that dune, right? So it's really a question of fine tuning the plan, making it clear where this point is long-term protection of the dune. Make it clear where there's going to be plantings at the end of construction. Where are you going to replant? Where's the vegetation going to be? And we want that plan to be a plan of record so that those vegetated areas are established and then maintained long-term. That's the goal. It's it's trying to comply with the bylaw and the various requirements, all of which you're doing also, and we appreciate the effort there. So with that, I'll just turn it back to the commission. Thank you.
Okay, TJ, on planting, because you're not keeping the garage, you're not proposing any replanting at this time, as I recall.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Proposed to
Now-
take, proposing to replace with sand. And
So I
I
think-
apologize,
I
I
think-
think I'm a little laggy.
So I think the question really comes down to, on the proposed parking, you're eliminating existing vegetation and proposing to put crushed stone in there. I'm still hung up on that for the obvious reason. But why don't we do this? I see Bobby and Jerry Clymer. Bobby and Jerry, do you want to just identify yourselves, give us your address, and then,
Yeah,
we ask you just to be concise and not repetitive on, previous comments, if you can be.
okay. Jerry and Bobby Clymer. We have the house across the street at 75 Northern Boulevard. And just make a few points. This really is the most sensitive part of Plum Island. When they built the jetties, they built a special dike at the mouth of the basin in order to keep the ocean from reestablishing itself in this area. And the area across the street has been bulldozed, and it still shows that because the dune is not as good. So this project has a couple of really potentially adverse effects on us and on the public, the street and the utilities. If they remove the grassy knoll between the house and the street, I think that will reduce our protection against flooding and storm damage. It's mowed, but it would be beach grass if it were allowed to grow. And it's a couple of feet above the grade of the street, and it really should stay there. As far as parking is concerned, I think that the plan that Jeff showed showing parking under the north end of the house and next to the stairs gives them the 7 spaces they think that they've had in the past. And eliminating all of the stone along the street would allow you to leave that dune in place and let it grow and provide protection to the street and to the neighbors. So those are the principal issues. I'd like to see some more filling, some sand and vegetation, to help the dune grow behind them. It's been left in a sandy state for a long time, and it could use some help as flood control for us and others.
Okay, thank you. Bobby, do you have any comments before I?
The only thing I would add would be the area that is grass now and would turn into beach grass. If you extended the fence right up to the end of that, then you would really eliminate people walking through there.
Yeah, the fence could be extended another 20, 25 feet. In that where they are now proposing to have stone, where they want to expand their parking area. We certainly don't think they should be able to expand their parking area and remove part of the dune.
Okay, thank you. Kate, Mason, do we have any other members of the public that would like to comment on this project?
I'm not seeing any more.
Okay, I'm gonna go back to TJ Melvin. TJ, you've heard the comments from the commission and from the neighbors. So let's go back to the site plan showing the existing pavement and the proposed stone driveway.
Yeah.
So I do agree, TJ, that the proposed stone driveway that you show there at the south side of the property there, I guess. You'd be eliminating vegetation to do that, and you'd be expanding beyond what you have for grandfathered parking. So the question is, I'm not comfortable proposing that, considering that as an option. I guess the question is, you can certainly maintain the hot top that you have. The one area that you were proposing to eliminate and plant grass, you could do that, or you could continue to maintain that non-conforming use. But beyond that, I'm just not seeing a pathway forward to allow any further parking on the property.
Understood. Al, I think you and I can talk offline, but maybe consider flipping it similar to Attorney Roloff's sketch, show 2 parking bays here and propose that to remain. And talk about getting rid of this. But
Yeah,
we can,
if you did a mirror reverse of the layout, if that would work, it'd probably be perfect.
Yeah, the overlay that I have, and I guess this is something that TJ and I can talk about offline, but the current pavement, actually that looks about right to where it is to that second bay there. The issue is the way the house is designed now, that if you go from the top of the house down, first bay we talked about you can park in, second bay has stairs so you can't. Third bay, the one in question that a few people have brought up, there's a shaft for utilities that come down that prevent us from going all the way in. We can maybe put like the hood of a car in, that's about it. So it would involve like a redesign to get that shaft further north or something to be able to utilize that. This is kind of new to me, so I want to kind of consider and discuss with my wife the idea of retaining the full driveway to have that stay the same, and then not putting stone in front of the lower 2/5 of the house. I don't think it's out of the question. I'm just thinking aesthetically, it may look a little weird. I think this proposed drawing to me aesthetically looks the most natural to somebody driving by. It kind of keeps it looking right. Whereas if there's a little bump of curb that has the current bump up of a foot or so of where that lawn is, keeping that lawn, and I'm trying to get it so I don't have to maintain as much, in my older age and stuff as well. That's why I think that the current proposal is best logically. But I see where you're coming from with this, and I don't want to ask the commission to do anything that they're uncomfortable with too. So I'm open to being flexible, as you've seen, because we've made a lot of changes so far from our original.
No,
plan.
listen, I think you've done yeoman's work on addressing all the issues that have been raised. And certainly you understand that it's a reflection of the sensitivity of the area.
Absolutely.
You're in one of the few areas on the island that has true dune migration. Most of us have dune erosion. So you're
Yeah, I mean, it was talked about how our dune needs help. I mean, I know that when I bought the property, something previous owner did some stuff that really hurt the dune, but since I've owned it, it's grown over 8 feet. It's really doing. I mean, if it wasn't doing that, I think I might have said before, I don't think I'd be considering staying there because I don't. House is going to wash away from the ocean, but the growth has been
So Al,
phenomenal.
because
So-
what I'm gonna do if I can is just, we have a full agenda tonight and it's
Sure.
obviously there's a lot going on after this. I would suggest just looking at, if you can flip the layout of your plan, where your door, your entryway now is kind of your second bay. If you just did a reverse layout, where that became, we would entertain a walkway to get you back to the hot top. I don't know if you're following what I'm saying. TJ.
I'm not following what you're saying. If you can pop it back up again. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
TJ, you're talking, you know what I'm saying? Just,
Yeah, exactly. We
If you-
can, mirror the house, so the bump out is down here. And then similar to the walkway that you currently have, maintain something similar to this. To get you to the front door, that would.
then you'd be
ultimately
able to
about here.
utilize your existing paving. And I think we would entertain giving you a crushed stone walkway or something like that to get back to your pavement if you flip that layout.
All right. Well, I don't want to take up the commission's time, but I'm going to need more explanation by TJ on what that
Okay.
actually
Yeah, we can
is.
definitely discuss
And
that.
we have, and there's other options from what you looked at too. But I mean, now that I know like what you're concerned about, we can try to address it.
Yeah, it's just the limitations of what you can do with your parking and then certainly we're looking to add vegetation, not eliminate any, so. That's the guidelines that we're dealing with, and that's what the regs and the WPA require. TJ, do you wanna, let me ask you this, any other questions from the members? Are there any other questions from the public? Because I think you're close to where you need to be on this. I think if you request a continuance to our April 15th meeting and resolve if you're gonna change the layout or whatever, but I think you've got some good guidance from the commission and from the public tonight on what you're probably gonna have to do to get this across the finish line.
Okay, yeah, I'll definitely follow that recommendation. We can, I can request the continuance till the next meeting. I appreciate that.
Okay. All right.
Recording in progress.
I'll entertain a motion to continue this public hearing at the applicant's request to the April 15th meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call. TJ,
Aye.
Woody,
Yes.
Nick,
Hi.
Diane,
Yes.
and Bob Connors. Okay, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very
everyone.
much.
Okay, next matter is, this is a amendment request, DEP file number 0501435, Sunset Club. Applicant is submitting an amendment to the current OOC that includes installation of a 40 by 40 open pavilion structure. The submission addresses the impacts of the new resource areas and any changes to stormwater management. Mason, can you give us a quick overview where we are on this?
Yeah, so at the last meeting, the commission had brought up some questions and concerns regarding the runoff from the proposed pavilion and kind of how we would like to see that pitched all towards the existing rain garden areas. So I believe that the applicant has updated plans to show kind of a drip edge at the bottom of this pavilion leading into the existing rain garden. And then I believe the applicant is going to be updating their stormwater calcs for us to review before the April 15th meeting.
Okay, so they're requesting a continuance to the April 15th meeting?
Believe so, but I see Steve here. I think he may still want to present and just show the commission some of the updates that were given. I may be wrong, but I'll.
Yeah, Steve, if you just want to identify yourself, if you want to make a presentation.
Yeah, good evening, Steve Sawyer with Millennium Engineering. Yeah, so I'm here with Vincent Godin, and I wasn't at the last meeting, I was unavailable, but based on the input we have provided, I can quickly just run through it. I think the other items we showed sonotubes, we've replaced that with an auger. I guess where it's continued, I just want to make sure plan wise, we addressed everything. So if I could share just quickly share. All right. So we placed two stone strips on either side on the eve end of the pavilion structure. So those are placed on the north and south side. And then also we indicate a helical pile supporting the wood beam. It's an 8x8 wood post. Also, we did submit the construction drawings for the building. There's only going to be 4 on either side, so 8 total helicals required to support the structure itself. And then on the drip edge, it's just going to be 8 inches deep, 12 inches across, filter fabric with a 1.5 inch rounded stone. So when the water splashes down, it won't create a trough in the sand, and it would just percolate through the rocks and then into the sand. We are entertaining, there is an other option, would be a gutter and downspout, but we're figuring this would be the best approach right now. It would be a rounded stone. So if someone stepped on it, we would use rounded versus a crushed stone. So people walking across, if they're in bare feet, they would be comfortable. So that's it. And I guess what happened was, I guess in the interim, we were looking to, originally we're going to kick the can to have the peer review of the stormwater done during planning. But I guess Kristen had called Mason and mentioned, or talked to Mason about, hey, it might make sense to review it during the conservation process. So I guess, I think Vincent and I, it makes sense. It's probably more efficient to just take care of it now. And that way, as far as the planning board, it's taken off the table. It says for any planning issues there. So I think this is probably a little more, might expedite the process a little bit and take care of the stormwater now. So I think Vincent, you can chime in, but I think we're okay to, or whatever funds are needed for Joe's peer review on the stormwater. We'll put together a letter and submit that over the next couple of days. And hopefully, I would think it's pretty simple. It's clean water. There's really no, we don't have to worry about standard 2 peak runoff. It's clean. It just percolates into the sand. Just going to make sure it's going to function as designed, which there's no issue here given the sand material. And I'll wrap it up quick. That's it.
Okay, so you're going to submit, you're going to put the deposit and with now Mason, where does he do that? Do it down and see you, or is that still done through, what's the process for starting peer review?
Yeah, so I believe that the planning, I believe Daniel and Kristen had reached out to ask for funds to be put into the escrow account, and then from there Joe will be able to review any updated stormwater calcs as they submit.
Hey, this is Vincent right here. I got an email from Daniel earlier today requesting those funds, and we will be depositing them tomorrow with the planning board into the escrow account, and they'll get Joe hired immediately as once those are deposited.
Okay.
That's good.
All right, any questions from the members? This is going to be continued. I'm assuming, Steve, you're requesting continuance to
Yes.
the April 15th.
Yes, please.
Okay. Any questions from the members? TJ, any questions for Stephen?
Not at this time, nope.
Woody, how about yourself?
No questions at this time.
Mick, yourself, any questions?
All set at this time. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Stephen.
Okay, Diane, any questions for Stephen at this time? You're on mute.
You're on mute, Diane.
No, thank you.
Okay, and I don't have any questions. Okay, I will entertain a motion to continue the public hearing to our April 15th meeting at the applicant's request.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call, all in favor? TJ?
Not.
Woody?
Yes.
Mick?
Aye.
Diane?
Yes.
And Bob Connors. Okay, thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Vince. We'll see you on the 15th. Okay, next matter. DEP file number 05014457 7 Marsh Ave. The applicant proposes to install a seasonal dock for the use of a single-family home located at 7 Marsh Avenue. The permanent access walkway is proposed above mean high water, and the walkway will be open flow decking. Mason, can you give us an update where we're at on that? I know Marine Fisheries did come back with some comments on this.
Yeah, so Division of Marine Fisheries came back with some comments, suggesting, some changes to what was proposed. And I would still say, as I mentioned the last meeting, I would recommend that, the proposed, walkway and structure be staked and flagged in the field, for either me and or the commission's review. Just to kind of give us an idea of where this is going. I know towards down the water, the resource areas are overlapping on this property, so it can be a little tricky. So yeah, that would be my suggestion.
Okay.
And I can.
So did the Marine Fisheries let it, Stephen, are you on
Yeah,
this project?
I'm on this one also. Yeah,
Okay.
TJ filled in. I was unavailable last time.
Okay.
Yeah, so Marine Fisheries, I guess one of the changes that we're gonna have to provide is elevate. We had a 4-foot wide permanent structure with through flow, and I think we had 1-to-1, so we had 4 foot clear. And at 4 feet, we'd have to go to 6 feet clear to the decking, which that's a little bit high. You know, and even with their contention is there's no difference between, or there's no benefit with through flow versus solid, which I differ. We contend that we've done some through flow that are probably 3 feet off marsh, and the marsh is beautiful underneath. But I think what I spoke with Peter on this, and I think what we'll do is probably skin it to 42 inches. So it would require 5 foot. 5 foot clear. So there'll be a little bit of a redesign on the permanent structure to lift it a bit.
Okay.
Lift it another foot, which, it's a little bit, we might have to lengthen the ramp, might have to go with a longer ramp down to the float. We'll see, on that. But we'll update that. And I guess as far as, we can schedule a site visit. We'd like to take care of all that over the next 2 weeks so we can come back on the 15th and hopefully close this up.
Yeah, I think it'd be helpful how long is it going to take you to update your drawings to reflect the Marine Fisheries comment?
I'll have that for Monday morning. We'll have that all set up. It's quick. It's a quick edit. Yeah.
Okay. So you'll have it, so Monday morning, you're talking next week, obviously.
Yeah.
So team, what does it, let me just look at the calendar here. I think once we have the updated plan, we could schedule a site walk. So Monday is the 7th. How does Tuesday the 8th look for people for a site visit? We typically try to do these, Stephen, around 8 in the morning.
Yep. Okay, in the morning. Yeah, that works for me.
Okay.
Let's see, I'm looking at the tide chart.
Yeah, that's
That can work for me.
okay. Mick, how does that so does
saying, oh, sorry.
So Tuesday the 8th work for you, okay?
Tuesday the 8th at 8 in the morning.
Yeah.
I am not available on the 8th.
Okay, on the 7th. Because you could bring the
Yeah.
plans with you, Steve.
I could do the 7th.
Yeah. So unfortunately, the 7th we got
Okay.
Murphy's at it again. It's a 8 a.m. high tide. So
Yeah.
if we wanted to walk out in the marsh, it might get might get our feet wet.
Yeah, 8th and 9th I'm tied up. Like I'm open the 10th.
Okay. You know what? How does the 10th work for everybody? Tide should work a little better for us, probably.
I'm available.
Okay, so
10th,
where do you?
yeah.
Okay, what do you?
That's an 11. Yeah, that's 11 a.m. high. So at 8, and it's a 7 night high, so we should be okay.
Okay. Diane, can you do the 10th?
I cannot,
Okay.
but again, you guys go.
Okay, why don't we do this? Get your plan in on Monday. Stephen. And then we can I can poll people for when we're gonna do.
Yeah.
We'll try to get it in obviously before the 15th. It
All right.
Might be the 14th.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, afternoon, if somehow, it sounds like your mornings works best for you guys, but afternoons also work for me.
Okay,
If somehow, but I'll coordinate that with Mason. He can coordinate with you guys.
okay. Mason, you have a question?
Yeah, just to add, I know Mary had some comments on this. Just to, if you'd want to address this in the meantime as well. She was saying that she had talked with a coastal engineer about the weight of these removable seasonal gangways. She said that a 40-foot gangway is likely to weigh at least 1,000 pounds. So I think she was looking for some clarity on how this would be removed seasonally
Okay.
without having machinery in the wetlands and without further wetland impact.
Okay.
I mean, honestly, Stephen, I'm familiar with ramps, and a 20-foot ramp's about 165 pounds.
Yeah.
It's all, so it depends on what you're putting in, and then obviously the span is gonna add to that, but that might
Yeah.
be some detail you may want to look into.
Yeah, I kind of was looking at that, and there's a couple of ways you can handle it. Is the 40-footer that spans at high tide, you could get a small inflatable or something, or some sort of vessel at high tide, and you could grab the riverside and kind of get underneath it and kind of walk it and sort of work it back in, and just set it on top of the actual fixed game. I'll come up with a plan. I won't waste.
That's right, because you were talking about having the 4-foot wide permanent structure, so you could pull the 3-foot wide ramp, removable. Okay.
And that's why I probably wouldn't go less than 42 to float it back, so you could float it back on top of that.
Right. Okay. All right.
I think it's
I have my hand raised, just.
Oh, yeah, certainly.
Yeah, Peter Laravius, 17 Marsh Ave. I'm the owner of the property, but just for logistics for the site visit, you'll see a DEP sign on Marsh Ave with a for sale by owner sign. There's a driveway that goes up. It's a gravel driveway. You can drive all the way down to just about to the river where the old house was that I had demolished. So just for logistics, you can either park on Marsh Ave and walk up to the river, or you can actually drive down. So
we're expecting Stephen to wait for us right at the driveway and then walk us down like 4-year-olds. So.
All right.
Okay. So you're going to want an continuance to the.
Continuance to the. Yep.
Okay. So I'll entertain a motion to continue the public hearing at the applicant's request to our April 15th meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call, all in favor? TJ?
Aye.
Woody?
Yes.
Nick?
Aye.
Diane?
Yes.
And Bob Connors? Yes. Thank you, guys. Okay, next matter. Okay, DEP file number 05014463 Central Street. The applicant is submitting an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation to confirm wetland boundaries on a parcel on Center Street. Mason, can you give us an update where this is at?
Yeah, the applicant has requested a continuance to April 15th.
Okay. Okay, I will entertain a motion to continue this public hearing at the applicant's request to our April 15th meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call, all in favor? TJ?
Aye.
Woody?
Yes.
Mick?
Aye.
Diane?
Yes.
And Bob Connors. Okay, thank you, Mason. So 4:15 continuance. Okay, now we have our public hearing tonight. It does not have an assigned DEP file number. It's 2 Plum Island Boulevard. The applicant is submitting a notice of intent to demolish all existing structure on the property and construct 4 residential townhomes within 2 pile-supported buildings. The project is located on a barrier beach and is within the 100-foot salt marsh buffer. Mason, can you give us an update on this?
Yeah, so this project is yet to go before the zoning board, but is coming in front of us now. Like you said, demolish all the existing structures and construct 4 residential townhomes. Everything is up on pilings, and I believe the applicant is here, so I will let him share that plan.
Thank you,
who's gonna-
Jason. This is Jeff Roloff. I'm actually going to start the presentation for the applicant, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's good. So Jeff, typically what the commission does is we'll hold our comments until we get a file number and technical comments. So just so you know, there's a couple of points I want to go over with you after you make your presentation.
Yeah, it's great. No, we appreciate that. We know we'll be requesting a continuance, but let's make as much progress as we can.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Can I share my screen quickly?
You certainly can, Joe.
And Mark Fryery, the applicant, is here with us this evening, participating. And Steve Sawyer, I'm going to turn it over to quickly to present the project and describe the details of it. I've got a few slides and I'll coordinate them as Steve does his presentation. But let me start by introducing myself. Again, Jeff Roloff for the applicant. I'm going to start by getting you oriented to the site. This is the former Plum Island Grill site. I'm sure you're all familiar with it. Right at the intersection of Plum Island Boulevard, Sunset Drive. This is a Google Maps street view of the property. Another view from the other angle, looking back towards the property and the intersection. You can see, I'll just point out because this stop sign here, and this is the former restaurant sign, but the stop sign is a good landmark to keep in mind as we get into the plans. This is an overhead view of the property. I'm partly just running through these so you know these images are here if you have questions and want to drill down to any details. But you can basically see most of this site is either paved or under structures with, pretty intense disturbances on the small area here and behind that's not paved. Dumpsters, recycling bins and the like, deliveries. Just another view of the same building from a different angle. Existing conditions, again, the stop sign up here in the corner. And you'll see when we get to the existing condition survey here, that the property itself is much tighter than the paved area that extends all the way out to the stop sign. So that area is a town-owned area over which Mark has had the right to park for many years as associated with the restaurant use here. Again, just looking at it, you're familiar with this, but it's paved, completely paved in front of the building, including within the arc of the property, as well as the town-owned area here. And the parking has extended historically around the entire perimeter of the building. And again, with active deliveries and the like extending around the back of the property. So existing condition survey, these are in your files. We can go back to it if you want. And this is the proposed conditions site plan. And I think with that, I'm going to turn it over to Steve. Steve, I'll control the slides if that works for you, but take it away.
Good evening, Steve Sawyer with Millennium Engineering. So this should be pretty quick. It's pretty obvious that this is a tremendous benefit environmentally. You can kind of see in the background on this plan, all the demolished structures in a faint red color around the perimeter of the building extending. You can see that the existing restaurant is probably about 3 feet off the property line at the intersection, and it extends this hodgepodge of extensions and alterations that expand across the entire property all the way over to Unit 1, where you see there's I think a walk-in fridge on a foundation on a deck foundation there in the rear. So the proposal is to basically remove all structures and pavements on this property, 100% removed. And then it's placed to construct 2 duplex units, 2-story units with parking under, with driveway access from Sunset Boulevard. So you can see that there's 2 duplexes with about, I think it's about 7 feet between the units. And then the remainder, other than the driveway, stairs, landings, and such, the entire property that we have within the property that we have control of will be restored. We'll be removing all of the pavements, gravels, and such, and restoring with beach sand, and then planting with dune grass. And we have a miscellaneous planting note, so there'll be dune grass along with some shrubs and such throughout the property. We will be meeting there is a specification that I've been made aware of for Plum Island, the sand sieve analysis. So we'll ensure that all of the sand imported to restore the property will meet that gradation requirement. And okay, actually I like if we can go back to the section would be great. So you can see there's parking under. The first floor is set at 15.7, flood elevation's 13. So we're 2.7 above flood in the AE zone with parking under. Pretty straightforward as far as, with no fencing or such to inhibit water, movement of flood water or sands throughout underneath the building. So the buildings will be fully compliant with Mass Building Code and with the FEMA flood hazard construction standards. And so as far as environmentally, it's a pretty straightforward project. It's a tremendous improvement to what's there today, restoring. I think it's about 60% of the site's going to be restored with sand and vegetation. And then a huge benefit for the town was, I believe years ago, there was discussions about improving that intersection. So you can see that our driveway is still quite a ways. There's the stop sign, and then the stop sign, Unit 4 driveway is still a tremendous distance away from that stop sign. And the stop line there at the intersection of Plum Island Boulevard. In the area hatched in orange is the area that is currently Mark has control of, or if it's a restaurant use, that there's control for parking that will be no longer needed and allowed for the town to take over and do what they, I guess, implement their plans for that intersection. It was a few years ago, a few years back, where they had plans to make some improvements there. So I think it's a tremendous benefit environmentally, safety-wise, with the removal of the high, it's a fairly high intensity use. A restaurant is a high intensity use, much lower intensity use environmentally and on the zoning end, which I guess is not the purview of this board, but on both aspects here.
That's it for our presentation, Mr. Chairman. We'll turn it back to the commission.
Okay. Mason, what do we have? Again, the commission's usually we reserve our comments until we have the file number and any technical comments.
Yeah.
But where we've opened the public hearing, and thank you for that. Mason, any raised hands from the public that want to add comments at this point?
Not seeing any.
Okay. Well, we had a ton of people on earlier. I guess that I think that was the 80 Northern Boulevard crowd then must have been
Yeah. Actually, one item with this project where it is exempt is where we're under 5 units. This project is exempt from stormwater, Mass DEP stormwater.
Okay. What about our local stormwater, Steve? So Steve, let me go into what I see. There's a couple of things. Interesting project, complex because the overlay, the Plum Island Overlay District has a guideline. It's kind of tied into our wetland bylaw. It's intertwined. But that's going to be a matter that's going to be determined, by zoning. But we are going to, pursuant to our bylaw 9513A, consultant services, we're going to require peer review on this project. The couple of open items. There's an existing order of conditions dating back to June of 2000 hasn't been closed out. And there was a ZBA decision on May of 2017 making a determination that work could be done in the tent area. the work has been done, but we have no record of any application for an RDA or a notice of intent. So there's a document review being done by ISD and by Mason to see, you know, what outstanding issues or what lack of permits there are, and we're gonna have to address all this at some point. So.
Okay.
Mr.
Okay.
Chairman, can I just ask what the peer review, what are you looking for a peer reviewer to do here or to focus on?
To focus on the complete application, and if they can respond to whether stormwater is required, and any of the other matters that. Peer review is going to be for the entire application, so it could involve legal and it could involve engineering. Okay.
Who's the consultant? Do you know who the consultant is or?
You know what? We haven't gotten that far, Stephen.
Yeah.
Because again, we're continuing this tonight because, you know, you can't do much more than that. I just wanted to give you a heads up that that's where it's going to be headed. We'll be talking within the town to see if it's going to be Joe Soroka on the engineering side, or if it's going to be town council or a third party law firm doing the legal review. Okay.
Okay.
Mason can send you the order of conditions going back to 2000 and the copy of the ZBA determination. We've got a number of calls on this about work being done without permits, in all honesty, and that's what's triggered looking back at this, that.
Okay.
There's been a number of questions about sheds that were built, refrigerators that were put in, patios that were installed that we don't have any other order of conditions. And obviously any activity in that zone would require at least an RDA. So we're trying to ascertain what's there by right and what's there that it was not permitted.
Yeah, that's fine. And we're happy to work also through staff offline to see if we can make some progress on sort of putting some focus on these issues. And I mean,
Yeah, the other way,
I guess
it's
my gut reaction to that is to some extent, you know, again, we are taking everything out of here and building something new. So
granted, the end result may resolve the open issues.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, if there are structures or footprints that are not there legally, can they actually be counted as existing? And does it require an enforcement order to address?
Right.
So it's a unique project for Plum Island without getting into any more detail. So
okay,
we're just going to go by the numbers on this one, Jeff and Stephen, and you know, see if we can work our way through it.
Fair enough. That sounds good. What about a site? Is there any reason for a site visit here? Should we aim to schedule that?
I would wait, you know what, we typically would wait again for file number and DEP comments.
Yep.
I can't tell you how many times we've accommodated an early site visit and then DEP comments come back and it's 180 degrees of what we were looking at, and it just required a duplicate site visit, but.
Right, that's fine.
So guys, why don't you do this? I'm assuming you're requesting continuance to our April 15th meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I will entertain a Mason, you have your hands raised?
Yeah, if I could just clarify real quick, I know that you guys said that stormwater wouldn't be applicable. I just want to confirm that on the WPA form itself, you click no because it's a single family house, but as a multi-house multi-family proposal, are we looking to check off
Oh, I'm
boxes?
sorry. Yeah, check there. Yeah.
Yep. All right, that's fine. Just
Should
wanted
be
to
item
double check.
3. Yeah.
Yep, no worries.
Okay, I will entertain a motion to continue this public hearing at the applicant's request to our April 15th meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call, all in favor? TJ?
Aye.
Woody?
Yes.
Nick?
Aye.
Diane?
Yes.
And Bob Connors. Thank you, guys. We'll see you on the 15th.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so under general project discussion team, There is going to be a site walk for wetland delineation this Friday at 2 p.m. for 34 Central Street. So you're all welcome to go. This is, if I'm not mistaken, Mason, this is the MBTA zone.
Correct.
So.
Could you repeat that, please? The time and date?
Yeah, it's this coming Friday at 34 Central Street at 2 p.m.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it.
Mason, why don't you do this? Why don't you just send out a communication notifying everybody that it's available? This is
Yeah.
a prelim, obviously.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say that would be great. Mason could send an invite. Those are always, I
Okay.
can dump those right into my calendar. They're really helpful.
Yep.
Okay, team, any last comments? TJ, any words of wisdom you want to add before we call it a night?
Stay warm.
I got
Okay.
something quick to add, Bob, if you don't mind.
Nope, certainly, Mason.
So the Old Newbury Golf Club is going to be coming in soon with a new submittal to be doing some work in the buffer zone, moving some tee boxes and doing some extensive tree removal and things. But they had just sent over a picture, I don't know if it was today or yesterday, with 2 dead trees that are on site. I was able to see these when I did a site visit with them before they turned in their submission. The trees honestly really don't look healthy. There's a lot of dead wood on them.
If they propose a risk to health or safety.
Yeah, so that's the point. They kind of hover right over this tee box which I can share the photo.
Do you want to do an emergency cert to allow them to take down the trees?
Yeah, so they're looking to take these down before the season starts, just so that's not a
Okay.
hazard to any of the golfers on
Yeah.
on the course.
I think you could do an emergency certificate if it's within our jurisdiction where the trees are.
Yep.
We can't have, we could send our top arborist out there, Nick Brown.
I'll go out. You want to take them down, Bob, or?
Well, if they're dead, I think they're gonna have to kind of.
No, I said if you want me to take them down, I'll do it.
You get to keep the firewood, Mick?
Yeah, I could use the logs.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they look kind of like some nasty old red maples, but
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, so team, are we okay with it? I think doing an emergency certificate to allow the removal.
Sure.
It's a safety issue.
Yes.
And well, before they're probably opening up pretty quick too, so. If you
Yeah,
need-
they'll get heavier quick,
Yeah.
so sooner you take them down, the better.
If you need me to sign it, Mason, just let me know.
Yep, will do.
Okay.
That's it.
Anything else, Nick? Any other comments?
Oh, there's one on the tip of my tongue and I've forgotten now.
I'll circle back, give you time to find that. Woody, what's what words of wisdom do you have for all of us?
I'm good. Spring's in the air. That's all I have to say.
Okay, Mason, any closing comments?
Nope, that's all from me.
Okay. Deborah, you've been on the meeting. Anything you want to say? Okay.
No.
All right, it is 8:14 PM and I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So we're gonna do Diane and TJ. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Aye. Yes.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night. Great job, Bob. Thank you.
Bye-bye.